to Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust's virtual conference, Sharing Our Seas, Seals and People. We are excited to share an inspirational series of talks exploring a variety of aspects of seal conservation in the UK. And it's our 20th birthday. In that time, we've done 35,000 plus surveys, processed over 1 million photos for 72,000 plus seal IDs. To make sure we can continue this important work, check out our website to join our Wild Seal Supporter Scheme, back our crowdfunding campaign, or shop in our online store. Thank you for your support.
My name is Abby. I am Marine Conservation Officer for Cornwall Wildlife Trust, and I also help coordinate the Marine Strandings Network project alongside a team of colleagues. And I'm going to be speaking to you today about the Marine Strandings Network, focusing specifically on seals and our research into seal strandings. So during this presentation, I think it's just really important to highlight that the work that I am talking about represents a huge team of people, from our marine manager Ruth Williams to our data officers Nikki and Anthea, and of course to the teams of volunteers on the hotline, our call out volunteers, our pathologist James Barnett, the University of Exeter, our partners like Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust and British Divers Marine Life Rescue, and of course nationally CSIP. So I'm representing the work of an awful lot of people who enable this amazing citizen science project to take place. So I'm going to give you a broad overview of Marine Strandings Network, but I am specifically focusing on our work in monitoring seals for obvious reasons. I guess straight away, I hope that everybody watching this presentation will put this number in their phones or have it already. This is our 24-hour hotline, which the project relies so much on. So Marine Strandings Network, to give you some background, has been running for over 25 years, a long time, gathering data on all organic material that washes up dead around our coastline. So that does include everything from amazing sea snails to jellyfish, but obviously to more megafauna of whales and dolphins and turtles. We do focus primarily on cetaceans and seals. That's both due to, you know, conservation objectives, but also due to often funding pushing us in certain directions. We're managed by Cornwall Wildlife Trust. However, as I've said already, its entire function is via volunteers, like this lovely group of people here in this slide. That's what every single training day looks like, which is lovely. We have a 24-hour hotline, this number at the top of the slide, which is managed by volunteers, all of our trained volunteers that go out to site and actually collect the data. So, you know, we cannot do what we do without those people. Carcasses within strandings, so the animals that we find, can be assessed on the beach in situ, or they can, if fresh enough, be taken to post-mortem at the University of Exeter in partnership with the Cetacean Strandings Investigation Programme. And I think what's really important to remember is that, you know, and I say this a lot, is that from a really sad event comes an amazing opportunity, a valuable opportunity for us to observe these creatures and really observe the detailed ecology and biology in a non-invasive, a cheap way, and use that information to better understand them and better conserve them. Because otherwise these are incredibly elusive individual animals that, you know, are very difficult to study at sea, and yet here we have this opportunity basically washing up on the beach in front of us. Before we go on to look at any of the data, I do want to highlight the importance of our partnership working. This is a photo of the Marine Strandings Network actually in 2017. It feels like yesterday, and yet actually that was a couple of years ago. We have a forum every year where we pull together our volunteers, but also, you know, interested parties, other organisations, partners. And unfortunately this year has had to be postponed. We're hopeful to have the forum this autumn, but obviously we'll just have to see how things go, but watch this space. But around that core group of people are all the logos of our other partners, so you can see how we all work together. And I think really what this highlights is how unique we are in Cornwall in working with people. We really do have a very strong relationship and work very closely with other organisations, I think more so than I've experienced in other parts of the country. And in doing so, we make sure our conservation work is as strong as it possibly can be, and that our voice, you know, our collective conservation voice is as loud as it possibly can be. So it is, you know, an amazing place, an amazing working example of that partnership and the value of those partnerships. On this slide, what we have here is a graph showing strandings by all years. So it shows all the different sort of groups of animals that we collect data on, the main groups that get recorded to us. As I said, we do record all organic dead material that washes up, but we have a real focus on some of the bigger stuff, because I guess that is the stuff that is called in: cetacean, seals, birds, fish, sharks, and turtles. You can see that dead seals have been recorded for the last nearly 20 years. We have done that in partnership with Cornwall Seal Group and Research Trust. You can see that seals do make up a massive chunk of the data. So the seal is in the bright orange-red colour, so really nice and easy to see. And although, you know, we have never had specific funding for seal strandings research, such as via national schemes, I think it's just amazing to show that through the passion of our partners, you know, and the people involved, that we are able to obtain this really valuable information on, you know, what is such an iconic species in this county, such an important species. Now, another graph slide here, and I want to say thank you so much to Nikki from the Environmental Records Centre for Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, who works on our marine data and helps sort of process it and interpret it. And she's been crunching the numbers ready for our 2019 report that we'll be working on. And so I grabbed these graphs from some of that number crunching. What this shows clearly is that 2019 showed the highest number of seal strandings since recording officially began for seals in around 2000. What I want to add to that, and this is a kind of a personal observation, is that certainly for the last several years, you know, we are recording seals equally to cetaceans. The feeling is that people are making the effort to send in those records of dead seals when they come across them on the beach. So that, I feel that that increase in number is really representative of an increase in strandings rather than an increase in recording effort. That's something that obviously I haven't, you know, looked at the statistics, but from helping to support and then manage MSN for the last 8 years, that's certainly a feeling I get, that we're really seeing quite a true picture of seal strandings. Looking at that number in 2019, you'll see the graph on the top left gives you the actual numbers compared to the average. So you can see it was really high number of strandings, particularly in September, October. That was linked, as often is, to weather events. We also know that 50% of that 244 seals stranded were whitecoats and pups, and that obviously relates closely to that sort of time of year and the weather systems that we were experiencing. We work closely with Cornwall Seal Group to assess these seal strandings, to look at the data in more details, to analyse it. We try to discover why high numbers are stranding. You know, we try to investigate other elements of the seal ecology, particularly when we were able to link dead animals to some of the live database that the Cornwall Seal Group and Research Trust holds. So we get some really interesting stories coming from our data as well. So really important stuff going on. And one huge development in recent years was the creation of SEEP, which is the Seal Evidence Evaluation Protocol. Thanks to support from our pathologist James Barnett and the University of Exeter, we are able to investigate the cause of death in some seals via post-mortem if they are in a suitable condition, and often if they're adults. But in recent years we've developed SEEP to help us sort of look at seals in more detail in situ on the beach, and ultimately what it enables us to do is to obtain high quality photos. So you can see here on this slide there's a series of photos. This is guidance for our volunteers to really get the photos we need to look at more closely. They're external features. They may shed light on cause of death in the animal if it is unable to be sent to post-mortems. In an ideal world at the moment, we absolutely love it when animals can be assessed with SEEP and then sent to post-mortem, because then we can start to link the pathology and external features, which is fascinating and really important stuff. Cause of death in seals can range from anything from bacterial infections to physical trauma, but of course we are still facing the difficult issue of bycatch, and that's something that SEEP can uncover for us. So really important research, and we're really pleased to be doing that with our volunteers and with our partners. And I just wanted to finish really the presentation with highlighting, as I've touched on before, the importance of our joint working, particularly with how Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust supports the Marine Stranding Network in understanding some of the seals we record stranded. So this is just one example of many of a seal that has been able to be tracked from alive in the bottom left-hand picture all the way to its death, and it has a really interesting story behind it. It was found entangled in netting in November 2018. You can see its red tag in the bottom right-hand in the bottom left-hand picture, and it was subsequently released in December. So a month later, it was released in December 2018 at Porthtowan. Then 6 months later, in May 2019, he stranded again. He was stranded on Portreath Beach, so in the same area, and once again he was entangled in nets, that very thin pale green net which is identified by a sort of tangle net, monkfish sort of net. And what was also interesting, that photo of the dead seal with the net is actually, if you notice, is on metal. So that's gone to post-mortem. So we were able to look at its external features through SEEP, and then for it to be post-mortemed with James, our pathologist, and he could then relate the trauma, such as eye trauma to one of the eye, which is not inconsistent with it struggling in net, issues with it internally that linked it to bycatch. So it was a really, really important case where we can learn about its cause of death and features of that cause of death, and learn about that animal from its, swimming in our sea to washing up on our beaches. So another really interesting example is this seal here. This is Boo, identified again by Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust when assessing our strandings data. She has a very interesting story. So she stranded in 2019, September 2019 on Porthcotton Beach. However, she was identified as having been rescued by British Divers Marine Life Rescue in September 2010, so 9 years previously. She was found on the Isles of Scilly on St Mary's, and she came over to the mainland. She was rehabilitated at Gweek and then released in January 2011, so a few months later. 8 years on from that, 8.5 years on from that, she strands again at Porthcotton. What was interesting about Boo, and very sad, and this is the only photo I've used because some of the photos of decomposition can be a little bit gruesome, but a day later, after this photo, she washed round to Parkhead. She was then seen again, still on the beach, decomposing, and that decomposition uncovered a pup in her birth canal. So she had obviously died in childbirth. So just another really interesting story, a different story from the one before, but for us to learn more about these animals, their movements, and sort of the pressures on the species, really. So I am finishing there, but I want to just finish by highlighting that, Marine Strandings Network data and data on stranded seals is held at the Environmental Record Centre, and it is available for research for anybody, any students or any researchers out there. Please note that it is there for to be accessed. We will resume training at some point. We are now opening up Marine Strandings Network for our volunteers to attend strandings and record the data, following really strict protocols and guidelines to ensure their safety, and following government guidelines. So we are now attending strandings, and please spread the word. Please call in any animals you find, and we will in return be sending out volunteers out to record them. We will always, every year, train new volunteers. We always need new people to come and help and join the team. We have a big coastline. So if you're interested in becoming a volunteer, please get in touch. And yes, just a final, please make sure you save that number in your phone if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I hugely appreciate it. If you do have any questions, I will be at the live question and answer session on Saturday the 4th of July. Otherwise, any other questions, please get in contact with the Trust and we'll be happy to help. Thank you so much.